ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे. Yesterday, we discussed about Vidya Nidhi as part of our ongoing series on Yesterday is equal to tomorrow. The title Yesterday is equal to tomorrow was something which I really wanted to give for the series because we have so much of treasure which our ancestors have handed over to us. And what happens today is we discover a lot of things, invent a lot of things, and then end up realizing that, hey, these were known to our ancestors earlier. So it ends up being a rediscovery rather than a new discovery. Okay, so it's a research, right? We are searching into what was existing. So yesterday is equal to tomorrow is like we are not just discussing about the past, but we are discussing a lot of things which are relevant to the current period, and not just the current period, but also for the future. A lot of futuristic things which are yet to be discovered are there in our scriptures, and that's why we've titled the entire series as Yesterday is equal to tomorrow. In this, I thought the first phase is Vidya Nidhi. Vidya is knowledge, Nidhi is treasure. So the treasure of knowledge is something which we need to have in order to explore and go ahead with whatever is required. So this initial Vidya Nidhi series, I thought would focus on at least getting a glimpse of, the little things our ancestors have given to us. It's an ocean. So just understanding a little bit of what's available to us so that we can treasure what we have. So that's Vidya Nidhi. We started with some points yesterday where I spoke about the sources of knowledge. What are the sources from where we can gain such traditional knowledge? I said the Atma or the essence is the Vedas. And if you look at him as a personification of a human body, then the Veda Purusha has all the limbs. So the hands, legs, and the eyes, ears, so many different parts of the body. And these parts of the bodies are called as the Vedangas. So we need the Vedangas to work efficiently with our body. So we spoke about the grammar, Vyakaranam, we spoke about Chandas, we spoke about etymology, which is Niruktam. So we spoke about the 6 different Vedangas yesterday. And to understand these, we just can't have theory. So we have our itihasas, Puranas, etc., which narrate to us in a story form where we can understand how our ancestors implemented these things. So they've been there, done it, so that it's very easy for us to implement. So we saw what are the things which we can understand, like the Puranas and the itihasas. And finally, how do we implement it? How do we bring it to life? We saw that we have the Dharmasthanas, which are Ayurveda, the Arthashastra, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, etc., etc. So after understanding all this, so we got into the basics to understand the Aksharas. We realized that we have a beautiful equipment, which is our voice, which can help trigger different parts of our brain. So we understood that even a letter A can be said in 18 different ways in the Samskrita Bhasha. So the high pitch, the low pitch, the normal pitch, Udata, Anudata, Swarita. We also learned about how we can use the Nasika or Anunasika, the alphabets can be through the nasal or through the mouth itself. In addition to that, it can be Hrasva, Dirgha or Pruta. It can be timed into a single beat, double beat, or a longer beat. So with this combination, A can be used in 18 different ways. So if one letter can be used in so many different ways, so many alphabets and the combination of the alphabets, the words, the mantras can really make a huge difference. So we saw the video on Sanskrit effect, how it triggers the different parts of the brain. And we also saw about the research that was done by Fred Davis, where he had spoken about how the EEG and coherence really increases when we use the Samskrita Bhasha, and how our breathing decreases, our rate of breathing decreases, thereby increasing the lifespan. So in all this, we understood the huge numbers that was required by our ancestors and how our duration of Kali Yuga all the way to the age of Brahma was defined in our scriptures, how people use the number system as a game, as a play, you know, in Valmiki Ramayana and in Mahabharata, the size of the Akshauhini army that was mentioned, and so many different places to explain the comets. The huge numbers were used in astrology, in Vaimanika Shastram, etc., etc. It can also be used in the cleft palate to identify which alphabets are difficult for kids to say. So it's been a huge science, and people are learning Sanskritam for the sake of that. So with this as the background, because I know some of you have joined afresh today and some of you wanted a recap. So with this as the background, we'll go on to more interesting things today. So what are the more interesting things? Things which we can do right away here and understand, oh, wow, it works for me. Okay. So we spoke about huge numbers yesterday. So what did our ancestors do with these numbers? They used it in Ganita Shastram, which is mathematics. So today we will be discussing a little bit about mathematics, a little bit about encryption, how they utilized this knowledge to encrypt, how did they use logic to define these sequences, and we will go all the way to aeronautics. Okay, so that's going to be the scope that we'll be discussing today. All right, so to start with, how did our ancestors use these numbers? So we will start with a beautiful sloka for that. All of us are familiar with this beautiful sloka. Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. So this sloka, most of us are familiar because it is recited at the end of Sahasranamam. Once we complete Sahasranamam, Parvati Devi asks Lord Shiva, you know, these 1,000 names are really beautiful, but can everybody recite these 1,000 names every day? Is there a simpler way to do it? So she's asking on behalf of us. She's asking, is there an easier way to get the results of all these 1,000 namas? So Lord Shiva says, there is a very, very simple way. So what should they do? Sri Rama 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 Iti. Recite the name of Lord Rama 3 times. Rama Rama Rama. And what happens? Sahasranama Tat Tulyam. It becomes equivalent to 1,000 names. Now, how can 3 names be equal to 1,000 names? So people who are very devoted to Lord Rama say that it is the Taraka Mantram, and therefore it is equal to reciting all the 1,000 names. The essence of all the auspicious qualities of the Lords mentioned in the 1,000 names are available right here in the Ramanama. Therefore, it is equivalent. But then there is one more interesting reason. We were speaking about mathematics yesterday. So when we spoke of mathematics, I said our ancestors used these just as a play, right? So one of the techniques which they use for encrypting is called as the Katapayadi. What do we mean by Katapayadi is the alphabet sequence is there, right? Kaka, Gaga, Na, Cha, Cha, Ja, Jana, etc., etc. When we arrange that sequence, what happens is every alphabet or every consonant is given a number, is given a numeric value. So if you look at this chart here, you can see that Ka has a value of 1. Ta has a value of 1 as well. Whereas Ga has a value of 3. Ba has a value of 4. So if you look at a chart, you can understand that there is a numeric value assigned to each of the consonants. And people used to encrypt and give very interesting things using this encryption. We will see a few examples today. So one of the encryption here is the Sri Rama Rama Rameti. So how does this work? Rama. If you look at the value of Rama, what happens is Ra has the value of 2. If you look at the chart. Ra has the value of 2. Ma has the value of 5. So Rama becomes 2 times 5, which is 10. Now what happens? Rama, Rama, Rama. So 2 into 5, which is 10. 10 cube, 10 into 10 into 10, which is Sahasranama Tatatulyam. So 10 cube is 1000. Therefore, when you recite Rama 3 times, the encrypted value is 1000. So this is another very interesting way we understand and enjoy the mathematics which is ingrained in such a simple sloka as Sri Rama Rama Rama. So this is a one-off thing where this kind of encryption is used. You see, here the starting alphabets, whatever has a value of 1, starts with Ka, Ta, Pa, Ya, right? And that is why the name is given as Katapa Yadi Sankhya, Katapa Ityadi Sankhya. The numbers given to the alphabets Ka, Ta, Pa, Ya, and so on. So that is Katapa Yadi Sankhya. Now, what else have been encoded like this? Lot of interesting things which we will see. Before we go into that, in Sanskrit we say Prasangat Vadami, because we are speaking about Lord Sri Rama. I wanted to bring in another interesting thing here. All of us know that in Ayodhya, the excavation activities were going on, and a lot of interesting findings were there below the temple premise. And one such thing was this beautiful structure which people got under the ground. So this is a lotus. Very, very interesting structure. If you look at this, the outermost layer, the number of petals are 29. And the layer inside it seems to have 13 different petals. And the innermost circle seems to have 7 petals. What do we infer from this? It's a very, very interesting combination that we see, because all these 3 things are prime numbers. 29 is a prime number. Usually people don't tend to use it in circle. We try to divide it into equal parts, right? So why have they kept 29 petals? And this was in Treta Yuga during Rama's times, right? So what was the inner thing seems to be again 13, which is a prime number, and the innermost is 7. So what does this communicate to us, and why did they use prime numbers? So interesting analysis which was mentioned by the author of Chronology of India is that he says probably the 7 in the 7 days explains about the number of days in a week, which is 7, and the lunar month which was followed had 13 lunar months, because the intercalary month is taken into consideration. The outer petal could be that it's not exactly 28 days. Some days it is 29 in a month. Therefore, it becomes 29. It's not like 30 and 31, which fluctuates here. Usually the number of days is between 28 and 29, depending on the stars that happen. So possibly the 7, 13, and 29 communicate the calendar which was used. So this is a very, very interesting thing, which I thought would interest all of you. And this is very, very recent as a few months back that was found out. Okay. So that is about Rama. I can't just speak about Rama and not speak about Krishna. Krishna is my beloved. Okay. So going to Krishna, here is a beautiful sloka of Lord Krishna. If you look at the sloka, we'll feel that it's yet another sloka. Gopi Bhagya Madhuvrata Shringi Shodhadi Sandigam Kala Jivita Kathava Galahala Sandharam. So this says, oh Krishna, you were the fortune for gopis, you vanquished the Deman Madhu, you were a cowherd, you crossed the Yamuna river, you danced on top of the and you vanquish your the wicked people, the enemies. So it's a beautiful sloka on Lord Krishna. Now, when we take a closer look at it, we are speaking about encryption, and we are speaking about the Katapayadi Sankhya. Now, how is this related to the Katapayadi Sankhya? If you substitute the Katapayadi values that we just discussed to this sloka, the amazing thing that comes out is the value of pi, and not to just 3 or 4 decimal places, the value of pi to 31 decimal digits can be seen from the sloka. So just playing with words, numbers. In slokas, they could communicate mathematics. We thought mathematics is theory, but mathematics could be communicated through slokas. So a lot of these interesting things. I have the same sloka in English here for those who have difficulty with Devanagari font. So when we substitute the Katapayadi Sankhya in this sloka, we get the value of pi. So people could just remember one sloka instead of remembering all the numeric values. How beautiful can it be? Now, not just this, I'm going to give one more example of this beautiful Katapayadi Sankhya, which is Carnatic music. In Carnatic music, all of us are familiar with the Melakarta ragas. Melakarta ragas are 72 in number. And the Melakarta ragas use the concept of Katapayadi Sankhya, which we were discussing till now. So how does it use the Katapayadi Sankhya? Very, very interesting. And it's very simple as well. We use only the first 2 alphabets in order to understand the number of the particular raga. For example, let me take Ramapriya raga, because all of you are already familiar with Rama. So Rama has a value of 2 and 5. Ra is 2 and Ma is 5. That's what I said, right? So Rama will be 2, 5. Remember, they've tried to encrypt it. So you have to reverse it here. So the 52nd raga will be the Ramapriya raga. You can go refer back to your material of Melakarta ragas. The 52nd raga among the 72 will be your Ramapriya raga. So using the Katapayadi, you can know the number of any Melakarta raga. So what is the use of knowing the number? The number in this is going to help us identify the Arohana and Avarohana. You can also say what is going to be the Arohana and the Avarohana, the swaras that are going to be used in this particular raga just by knowing the number. And how do we do that? It is very, very interesting. Sa and Pa are always standard. Okay, so you don't have variations in that. And it is said that in Ma you can have 2 variations, Shuddha Madhyamam or Prati Madhyamam. So depending on that, let me call it M1 and M2 for the ease of people to for ease of understanding. So if it is M1, then it's going to belong to the first 36 ragas. If it is M2, it's going to belong to the second 36 of the ragas. It's so easy. Similarly, you can have categories in the Rishabham or R1, R2, R3. You can have it in D1, D2. You can have it in N1, N2. So depending on this, a beautiful logic of flowchart can be arrived. So this flowchart basically tells us what would be the number depending on the numbering in the Melakarta raga. So the moment we know the number of the Melakarta raga, I'm not going to go into the details of this chart because it's a little time consuming. When we understand this chart, what happens is that the moment we know a number, we can identify the Arohanam, Avarohanam, we can identify the name of the raga. So when you have the name of the raga, the converse is you will know the number very easily. When you know the number, you will know the Arohanam and Avarohanam. Isn't that brilliant application of the Katapayadi Sankhya? So people had numbers, they used it, they applied it in so many different ways. So you don't have to by heart, okay, this is this ragam, so this has to have, this Arohanam, Avarohanam. It's not required at all. The moment you know the Katapayadi Sankhya, and Katapayadi Sankhya also comes in a 2-line sloka. So if you just by heart that sloka, you are ready to go. All right. So this entire chart is based on the concept that we explained. Many of you will be familiar with this chart. So the 36 of the Melakarta is one side, the other 36 on the other side. So it is the 72 Melakarta ragas.